Let's go. 6th video of the week. 5th comic class of the week. 2nd Patreon exclusive video of the week. 3rd San Diego Comic-Con video of the week. I'm breaking all the records this week. Hey everyone, it's me Aaron, but you know that because this is your 2nd Patreon exclusive video of the week. Whoo! Man! I am at that finish line, and I cannot wait to cross it. I have several other big videos that I've been working on for a while, and I'm really excited about them, and I can't wait to get back to them. Not that I'm not excited to talk about the stuff from San Diego Comic-Con, but this week has been all that stuff that I gotta talk about. There's been these little other projects over here that's like, but I want to do that. So I'm excited to finally be through with this. But thank you guys very much for tuning in, and thank you guys very much for signing up to be a Patreon supporter. I just had to come in here real quick and just acknowledge all the brand new people who have signed up. We have gotten so many new people this week. So many new people coming in here and donating to the Patreon. I just want you all to know, I appreciate it. I am so thankful that you guys have signed up to help support this channel. That is awesome. All right, now let's go ahead and talk about San Diego Comic-Con. The reason why I want to do this 3rd video as a Comic-Con exclusive, because typically whenever we talk about San Diego Comic-Con, I'll talk about the big stories, but then we will always have that big, like, I always call it the Gumbo pot, the pot in which we just take all the just random little bits, all those little things that we didn't have any other place for, put them in the big pot, put that lid on there, boil it up, we turn out an episode. I would typically always make that something that everybody could watch, but this year's San Diego Comic-Con, if you watched our video in which I talked about the Avengers news, talked about all the MCU news, I started that video off by saying I don't really care about San Diego Comic-Con anymore because all the companies out there, they've kind of realized we don't need San Diego Comic-Con. We got the internet, and many of us even have our own little conventions where we can just come in here and just control the flow of information however we want, and we don't have to compete against anyone else. Yeah, we don't really need San Diego Comic-Con all that much, but this year we got the MCU news, and I was like, oh my god, that's really big, and we got all the new X-Men book. That's really big news. That's really exciting. Everything else that came out was like, that's kind of a neat thing. That's kind of interesting. I've got thoughts on it. I've got stuff that I do want to say about some of these announcements, but a lot of the other things that were announced, I was like, did we really need that? San Diego Comic-Con, was that really the big knock down the doors, blow everybody's mind kind of deal? Was that really the thing that you think of when you think of San Diego Comic-Con? There were nice stories, but only like maybe 2 of these I looked at and went, oh yeah, that's San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. That's worthy of that title of being San Diego Comic-Con news. Yeah, the rest of it was stuff that I could just imagine being announced pretty much anywhere or at any time. In fact, after all the Marvel Cinematic Universe news came out, I was looking around at everything else and I was thinking, I'm missing something. There is definitely other stuff to talk about here. So I went on Twitter and I asked everyone, all right, aside from the X-Men books and aside from the MCU news, what were the big announcements from Comic-Con? Because I'm missing something here. Clearly, there was something huge that got announced that I just completely missed. And I had so many people respond with so many different stories. And I looked at all the stories and went, knew that one, 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 knew that one. Oh, no, I guess that was it. I guess the X-Men news and the Marvel Cinematic Universe news, those were the big things. The rest of these are, just things that we're gonna pick up, drop in the gumbo pot, make ourselves a stew. So, here is our San Diego Comic-Con stew. We're going to begin with the announcement that there is a brand new Spider-Verse series coming. Well, not ongoing, but it's going to be a mini-series. This was a no-brainer to me. In fact, it was honestly shocking that we didn't have a Spider-Verse series, considering how much people love the end of the Spider-Verse movie. I can understand them being a little bit gun-shy to that, simply because we did have the Web Warrior series, which is all about the alternate reality Spider-Man. But then that didn't do all that well, it got canceled, so I can understand people at Marvel being like, alright, let's not attempt something like that again. But I mean, Into the Spider-Verse came out like almost a year ago, and people still to this day like salivate over that movie. I've gone back and watched that movie twice since it came out on Netflix. I think it's a better film every single time that I watch it. People constantly talk about how much they freaking love that thing. There was an art show recently of people just coming together to create art just for Into the Spider-Verse. Not like an online thing, like an actual, in a location, they had an official art show of just fan art dedicated to Into the Spider-Verse. That is insane. I have never heard of any other superhero film actually inspiring something like that. So yeah, it makes sense to make a Spider-Verse comic. That is just a slam dunk to me. And this is going to be a mini-series, which is also a smart move because, as I said, Web Warriors did not do all that well. So you want to test the waters, see if everybody is willing to come in here, if all the people who love the movie are willing to come over into the comic. Yes, mini-series, smart idea. I've said this about Marvel many times, but they, for a period of time, just stopped believing in mini-series to test the water. They just wanted to do ongoing series. But if you listen to the people behind the scenes, they said, yeah, it was actually a mini-series that they just called an ongoing series, and they just wanted to see if it would be received well enough to actually be an ongoing series. That's not a good idea, because then you have a whole bunch of series that look like they're just getting canceled, rather than having mini-series that look like they're getting filled to completion. So it looks like Marvel is going back to that. They're being smart and actually making mini-series here. And the cast on this one is going to star Miles Morales. He's going to be the central focus of it. But then it's also going to have Penny Parker, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Ham, the Aunt May Spider-Man, which someone at Marvel really loves that character. I think it's Dan Slott. That seems like his brand of humor. There's also going to be Peter and Mary Jane's daughter from the Renew Your Vows series. She's going to be popping back up in this, which is cool because people enjoy that character, so that's awesome. But there's also just a regular plain-ass looking Spider-Man on that cover. And I don't think that's going to be Peter Parker. I have a weird feeling that's going to be the actual comic book introduction of Peter B. Parker. The loser, like, middle-aged Spider-Man that was Miles' mentor in Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know why, but I'm getting that feeling like that's who that is going to be. So yeah, I'm very happy for this thing, but the thing that has me the most excited isn't just the fact that we're getting Spider-Verse again. It's the artist. There's only one writer, but there's a ton of artists that are signed onto this book, and it's high-tier artists. It's like Stuart Immonen, who I thought quit comics. It's Arthur Adams, who almost never does interiors. It's Stacey Lee, who is insanely talented, but pretty much only does covers now. Yeah, they're all coming together to do this book, and I'm wondering if the reason why they're getting all these artists to do this book is just because Into the Spider-Verse was such an artistic achievement, such an amazing accomplishment of animation, that so many artists looked at that and were impressed and were like, I want to be a part of that. Can I be in some way involved in a Spider-Verse thing? I definitely want to be a part of that. Or, and this is kind of going to be like an anthology thing. Like every single issue is going to have the main storyline focusing on Miles, but then you'll get the little backup stories that are like 2 or 3 pages long, just talking about one specific spider, and that will be done by one of these artists. I'm pretty cool with that idea because I really like alternate reality anthologies. It's something that we rarely ever get, but it was one of my favorite things that spun out of the original Spider-Verse series, where they actually had just those 2 like miniseries little anthology books that just focused on individual spider people. I freaking love that. And we don't really get that anymore. So if they want to do something kind of like that in here with really talented artists, I'm all on board with that. But that's not the only Spider-Man related news coming out of Marvel. They announced, this is odd, Mary Jane Watson is getting an ongoing series. That is fascinating. And I'm kind of torn on how I feel about this. Because on the one hand, I have been saying for a long time that Mary Jane Watson needs kind of more to do. I've always had a problem with the fact that Mary Jane Watson is constantly getting into trouble and Peter Parker constantly has to come and rescue her. We need to see Mary Jane Watson go off and do her own thing. But her own thing is going to be she's going back out to California to try and rejuvenate her acting career. And that's interesting. It's not what I was picturing. And I don't know if I'm happy about that or if I'm a little bit disappointed in that. Because I was honestly kind of hoping that they would, I don't know, give her like a super suit, give her some powers, let her actually get in there and join the battle, make it so that Peter no longer has to worry about what could possibly happen to Mary Jane. No, let's have Mary Jane start defending herself. That would be kind of awesome. I freaking love that moment in Spider Island where she actually gets spider powers and she's fighting alongside Peter Parker. I thought that was great. But this is going to be her just being Mary Jane Watson, and it's going to be her continued adventures just as Mary Jane Watson. And as I said, okay, well, I kind of wanted to see you actually, like, find off some bad guys. But this makes this a very different type of book. And I always applaud Marvel and DC trying to do something different. Trying to do something that isn't just superheroes. Mary Jane Watson is not a superhero. And this is very fascinating that we're going to now get a book about someone just trying to be an actor. And it's going to be set in a world with supervillains. And there is indeed going to be a supervillain going after her, because Mysterio is going to be involved in all this in some way, shape, or form. I think that's a very fascinating idea. It's not something that I would have ever pictured Marvel doing, and anytime that I can say it's not something I would have ever pictured X doing, that's typically good. It's good to try different things. So I do want to see where this is going. I'm not going to come in here and say this is a brilliant idea, but I'm not poo-pooing it either. I think this could totally go in either direction. And it's being written by Leah Williamson, just Leah Williams. Leah Williamson is a tennis player. Leah Williams, it's being written by Leah Williams. I have not really read much from her. The only thing I have read from her was the What If Magic issue that she did, which was great. So that gave me a lot of high hopes for what she can possibly do. So I'm interested in seeing what she will do after this, because I was looking up her resume, and she's done some other stuff with the Age of X-Men crossover, which I dropped off of like a brick. I dropped off of that thing quick. I read the lead up to that, and I could barely get through the lead up to that. So yeah, I had no interest in continuing that, but she has been writing some stuff in there. I have no idea if it's been good or bad. But I am looking at a lot of the stuff that she has planned coming up. She's going to be doing that new Gwenpool series. I'm very fascinated in that, because you guys know me, I really love Gwenpool. So I'm really excited for all the stuff that Leah Williams has planned coming up. But I've only read one thing by her, but it was really good. So that's not enough for me to come in here and be excited, but because it was a good thing, I'm not excited for it. Two more things coming out of Marvel. These were just teases. These were just ominous, vague teases. I'm going to start with one that had Annihilus and just said Annihilation was only the beginning. And I looked at that and I thought to myself, okay, so you're just gonna try and do Annihilation again. Okay, God. I'm sick of Marvel coming in here and going, hey, remember that last big event we had? What if we did again? I hate that. I am done with that. I want new stuff from Marvel. I want them to stop going back and just going, hey, we have this big event that you liked. Please buy the thing that has the same name as it again. I am really fed up with that. But we don't know if that's what this is. And that was my initial knee-jerk reaction. But then I started thinking, what if this is more of just them coming in here and going, you know what, Annihilus really messed things up, and he's still there. We didn't really get rid of him. He's still around. So you know he's still planning something. So maybe this isn't like Annihilation 2. Maybe this is them saying, okay, Annihilus, he came in here, he did something really big and freaky, but he's just kind of been sitting on the sidelines for years. It's about time he gets up off those sidelines. It's about time that he gets up and actually gets back into the game. That's kind of a big deal. And I thought to myself, that is kind of a big deal. That actually is something that should be a storyline. Listen, I'm tired of them just taking the last big event and just going, yes, let's do that again. But if you take something that someone did that was a really big deal, and then you say, and now they return, that's totally fine. That's completely different than just going, it's this with a 2 on the end of it. No, taking the big bad villain who did this big, huge thing, but we haven't done anything with them in a while, and it's their return. That's actually awesome, and I'm excited for that. So if that's what they have planned with this, then okay, I'm intrigued. And considering that this would tie into Guardians of the Galaxy, and Donny Cates is writing the Guardians right now, and is doing a marvelous job, no pun intended, with the Guardians, dude, if this is Annihilation 2, screw you, I don't want that. But this is Donny Cates' next Guardian story is Annihilus returning to try and mess everything up again. Oh, I want to see that. That actually has me excited. And the last thing that Marvel teased is basically that 2099 is returning. That's really all we got. We know nothing. I know in Spider-Man 25 that just came out recently, there was a little tease in there, like something very ominous of Spider-Man 2099, and just said the future is dying. And we do know that Nick Spencer is in some way connected to this 2099 revival, okay, I'm excited to see what this could be, because I like 2099. And Nick Spencer, I always liked him as a writer, but yeah, after his Captain America thing, after Secret Empire, he did kind of need to be humbled a little bit. He did kind of need to step back and just go, alright, let me just try and build myself back up from the ground up. And I've been loving his Amazing Spider-Man. I think his Amazing Spider-Man is great. So I feel like, alright, you've been doing that for a year. It's time that we can start giving you a few other things in there. So yes, I am excited to see what Nick Spencer could do with 2099 returning. But I'm more interested to see what is going to happen to 2099 in general. Not so much what Nick Spencer has planned for it, but more just like, okay, what does Marvel have planned for it? Because this is something that I keep bringing up all the time. I want to see characters kind of age and progress. I've mentioned this numerous times. I don't want Peter Parker to be Spider-Man forever. I don't want him to be stuck at the exact same age forever. And one of the main reasons I say that about Marvel is because you got 2099 there. You've got a date. You've got something sitting right over there. And yeah, it's a ways off. It's 80 years off, but we are now as far from that as we are from the very start of Marvel Comics. When Marvel Comics first began, we are now that exact distance between. We're at the exact center point between the start of Marvel Comics and 2099. It's about time that we start thinking about, okay, so are you actually going to maybe think to yourself, all right, let's start setting up for like 80 years down the road. Let's maybe talk about this. I don't mean like actually lay out like a roadmap for the next 80 years of Marvel Comics. No, but I mean actually have the discussion of, are we going to accept that 2099 might eventually become a thing? Or are we just going to come in here and just say, no, it's never going to be a thing? It's about time that we start maybe having that discussion. Because if you wait any further than that, then at that point, it's just obvious what your answer is going to be. It's just obvious it's not going to happen, or if you do try to make it happen, then you're going to have to start cramming stuff in here a little bit quicker. Yeah, it is about time that we start maybe thinking about that. And that's what this looks like to me. It looks like Marvel is actually having to acknowledge, yeah, maybe we do have to actually think about this sort of thing in here. And I'm going to be interested in seeing what they do with that. Because here's the thing about, as I said, Peter Parker aging, Peter Parker maturing, Peter Parker eventually not being Spider-Man. If you listen to the writers on these books, almost every single person who writes these books will tell you, yes, that's what should happen. So many writers at Marvel are like, I just want these characters to freaking progress. I don't want them to just be the exact same forever, and I don't want what I write to eventually just be negated by what the next guy writes. I don't want stuff to not matter because we're stuck at the exact same timeline. But the higher-ups, those guys up there, Joe Quesada and everybody else who still runs stuff up there at the very tip top of Marvel, they say no. And there's a very big divide there between the creative talent and the board of executives. So I'm very intrigued to see what will happen, especially because now you gotta think about the movies. So often, the movies have come in here and helped dictate what the comics do. Because they come in here and go, well, the people know them from the movies. We have to think about that and how the movies would bring in an audience, so we gotta give them those books that look like the stuff that they know in the movies. The movies now have Captain America as an old man. Thor's probably gonna retire. Iron Man is dead. I'm really hoping you all saw Endgame, otherwise I just spoiled some stuff. And we know that we got Sam Wilson coming in here. We got Jane Foster coming in here. We've got the next generation of these characters coming in here. The movies have now lapped the comics. The movies are looking back at the comics like, man, you gotta keep up on this. So now the people at the tip top, the board of executives, they might have to start rethinking their plans. I mean, thanks to the idea of this cinematic universe over at Marvel, yeah, Spider-Man, he's back in high school. But we have an actor who can't just remain in high school. We have an actor who is going to age. So eventually, that discussion will have to happen. I don't know, that's my soapbox. That's the thing that I always get up there and talk about when it comes to comics. But I'm looking at 2099, and that has always been a part of my discussion when it comes to characters aging and moving on. And now I'm wondering with this whole the future is dying thing, I'm wondering if they're going to have that discussion too. Okay, one last story from the world of comics, this time coming from over at DC, and it was that Tom King and Mitch Gerads, the creative team behind Mr. Miracle, one of my favorite series from the past 2 years, they're reuniting to to work on Strange Adventures, their next series, which this time is going to focus on Adam Strange. They're also going to be joined by Doc Shaner, who I think is one of the best creative talents working in the comic book industry right now. And it's kind of vague what this is going to be. But you look at it, and it's definitely going to be something that again touches home for Tom King. I feel like the best stuff that Tom King does is the stuff that really kind of relates back to his life as a soldier. And I'm looking, or not necessarily a soldier, but a CIA operative when he was working over in Iraq. But I feel like looking at this series, it's definitely set up for that. Because you've got Adam Strange, this guy who he keeps getting teleported between Earth and this other alien planet. And on the alien planet, he's a hero. And then you've got him back here on Earth, and you're looking at two different covers for this. And one's the cover by Doc Shaner, and it's him on the alien planet looking at, like very heroic and very upsetting and bright and shiny and beautiful and colorful. And then there's another one, it's the same pose, but it's being drawn by Mitch Gerard, and it looks like a poster that's been defaced. It looks like a poster that's just got like nut job, like just all these words just sprayed across the front of it. And it's making me think this is going to be some kind of a story about, okay, is the alien planet actually real? Is this a mental illness that Adam Strange is actually dealing with? Or is this some kind of a situation where he goes off to this other planet and he's a big hero, but then when he comes back home, everyone kind of hates him, everyone looks down on him, which is a thing that I think would tie back into Tom King's time as a soldier. He would be talking about the two different lives that you have to lead when you're out there in the field and when you're back here at home. I could go into all kinds of speculations about this, but as I said, they kept it kind of vague about what the actual theme of the book is going to be, because that's the thing about a Tom King book. You could give us all the beats, you can give us all the details about it. You wouldn't be able to capture what it is that will make it good. Because The Vision was one of the best series that I've read from Marvel, quite possibly ever. And if you just described to me everything that happened in that book, I would go, okay, well that sounds interesting. But when you actually read it and see like what The Vision is a metaphor for, and you see like the emotional beats of that story, and everybody crisscrossing back and forth with who's doing what with whom, yeah, that's a whole other level of stuff. And that's stuff that you can't really explain. That's just stuff that you have to read and experience. Same thing goes for Mr. Miracle. I'm looking at this one going, there's got to be an emotional level to this that I can't even comprehend until I actually start reading it. So I am very happy to see that this is getting made, because I've heard so much crap get talked about Tom King because a lot of people don't like his Batman run. And I feel like every now and again he does have to stop and come in here and remind everyone, I actually am a talented writer. Whether or not you like what I'm doing with Batman, you can't deny that this is really good. Yeah, I've had problems with this Batman, but I gotta admit, when he's good, he's damn good, and this looks like it could be his next Mr. Miracle. Alright, time to move into some television news, and this is another one of the reasons why I wanted to do this video as a Patreon exclusive, because I do feel like there were some stories that came out of San Diego Comic-Con that a lot of people out there are going to be really excited about. I feel like there were some announcements that a percentage of the geek community were going to look at and go, that's the thing I'm most excited about, and that blew my mind. But you guys know for a fact, because I have said this many times, I'm not in that percentage. So I feel like if I made this for everyone else out there, for the general public on the main channel, I would kind of maybe have to skip these giant stories, because I can't come in here and just admit, yeah, they don't really do anything for me. But here on Patreon, I can come in here and mention the fact that Burt Ward is going to be in Crisis on Infinite Earths. That's an awesome thing. But you guys know for a fact, I don't follow any of the Arrowverse stuff. I tried watching Arrow, I got maybe 2 episodes into it, and then I skipped town on that thing. I just said, I'm done. Watched Legends of Tomorrow for 1 episode. I was like, this is fine, but I have zero interest in returning to it. Supergirl, I thought was okay. I watched like 5 episodes of it. Didn't really have any interest in returning. Flash, I watched for 3 seasons. Really enjoyed The Flash, but I always had problems with it, and by the 3rd season, my problems just overwhelmed the good, and I was just like, I can't even see the stuff I like in here anymore, so I'm out, I'm done, and I have not returned to any of it. I've heard that Black Lightning is really good, but it premiered long after I just said I'm done with all the Arrowverse shows. So, yeah, I have zero interest in really watching Crisis on Infinite Earths, But I will say this, I think it's cool that they're doing it, and I applaud how they're doing it. Even if this is something that I'm not going to check out, even if this is something involving characters that I have not been interested in for years now at this point, every single bit of news that I hear about Crisis on Infinite Earth makes me go, you guys are doing this right. You guys are doing this as well as you possibly could. Every single time that they announce someone new joining the cast of Crisis on Infinite Earth, I'm just gonna call it Crisis. Every single time that they announce someone new joining the cast of Crisis, I look at that and go, you guys are just losing your minds on this. In the best way. You guys needed this thing to just be a big old geek fest, and you're doing it. You're having your big old geek fest in here. You're going as far as you possibly can with this, because Crisis on Infinite Earth, it's all the alternate realities coming together and merging, and what they're doing is they're taking every DC television series that has ever existed and merging them all together, or not merging them all together, but having them meet each other. Burt Ward, the Robin from the Adam West 1966 Batman series, is going to be on this as Robin. An older Robin, but yeah, he's returning to basically go, listen, we can't get Adam West because he passed away, but a representative of that universe is still going to exist in here. And just recently they announced that Linda Carter and Tom Welling, Wonder Woman and Superman from Smallville, they're going to be in this. That wasn't announced at Comic-Con, but it just broke like a few days ago. Oh my god, you just crammed them all in here. And the one that honestly surprised me more than anything was that Brandon Routh is going to return in this. That surprised me, A, because he's from a Superman movie, not from a TV show. They're getting even the movies in here if they possibly can. He's coming in to play Superman again, which surprises me because he's also the Atom in this universe. So I just honestly am curious to see what their reactions are going to be when they meet each other, because they have to have them actually meet each other. That just makes sense. But he's going to be on here, and apparently at the panel he didn't really say a whole lot, but he did pull open his shirt, and he did reveal the Superman logo, but it was the Kingdom Come Superman logo? It was the Superman logo from the Kingdom Come storyline, which was about a Superman who just got fed up and tired and decided to just go and retire, but then he got called back into the field one last time, and now it was an older Superman who had to teach the world about what a positive example superheroes could be, about the right way to do superheroes. It was an amazing storyline. And I was like, dear God, not only are you getting this guy who played Superman in a movie to come back and play Superman, you get him to be Kingdom Come Superman, a storyline I didn't think we would ever get in any way, shape, or form outside maybe an animated film. At this point, you might as well have a moment where they cross over into another reality and it's just the Bruce Timm animated Batman universe. Just have Bruce Timm come in here and redesign all the live action actors to be animated versions of themselves, make a whole episode of that cartoon, get freaking, what's his face, the voice of Terry McGinnis to come in here, get a stunt double to suit up in the Terry McGinnis Batman Beyond suit, and then have that actor voice him the entire time. I would not be surprised by anything they do in this. This actually has me intrigued to watch it, but it probably won't because, as I said, I just fell off the Arrowverse wagon way too long ago. But for all the people still on, for all the people who still love the Arrowverse, I look at this and I am so happy for you guys. I am so happy that you have this thing. Despite what the rest of the internet might tell you, it is entirely possible to not be into a thing, but still be happy for the people who do have that thing. And that's what I am in this situation. Man, you people out there who want Crisis, you're getting the best version of this you could possibly get. Next up, speaking of DC television shows that I don't watch, the DC streaming service announced that it was going to be giving Doom Patrol a second season, which is a smart idea because based on what I have seen online, it seems to be the most well-received of any of the shows that they've done so far. But also, Young Justice was going to be getting a season 4, which is a really smart idea because let's be honest, when you announced that DC streaming service, Young Justice was the thing that got most people perking up. Because that was already an established thing. It was an established thing that had a fan base that wanted more of it, and now you told them, we have the thing you want. If you want more of it, you gotta come to us and give us that monthly subscription. So this is smart. That was honestly the thing that probably got the most people signing up for the DC streaming service when it began. So if you want to keep those people around, you might want to just keep giving them more of that thing that got them to come in here in the first place. So that's great. I'm glad that that's going to continue to be a thing. Now, as for Doom Patrol Season 2, that is going to be streaming on not only the DC streaming service, it's also going to be streaming on the HBO streaming service. And this is raising some questions because, let's be honest, you guys know that I have not signed up for this thing, and I'll be real with you, I have really no interest in signing up for this thing, and I've already laid out many of the reasons why over the course of several videos. I'm not going into it on this one. But this is not me coming in here and just poo-pooing the DC streaming service. This is fact. The DC streaming service is in some financial trouble right now. And I'm looking at this. And I'm looking at them shifting the Doom Patrol show over to also being in a brand new HBO streaming service, which, by the way, this is like the third one that they have. You have to stop at HBO. You have to merge them all together. You're one thing. Stop spraying out into multiple HBO streaming services. Get them all in one thing. I would like to be able to sign up for your streaming service so I can watch not only Doom Patrol, but also Game of Thrones. Don't make me sign up for 2 streaming services for that. But they're going to move it over to that, and I'm looking at that and going, okay, well, on the one hand, that's smart, because you'll be getting money from HBO for that, and you kind of need money from as many sources as you can possibly get at the moment. But on the other hand, that's also worrisome. Because that looks like you coming in here and going, okay, let's be real. The ship is sinking. We're losing money. We can't keep doing this forever unless we can get a lot more money in here quick. Let's start thinking about where we want to put these shows after we split up. Let's start thinking about where these shows could possibly live on other streaming services if things kind of go bad for us. We know that Warner Brothers is going to start their own streaming service. Yeah, it kind of makes sense that you could just pick up all of the DC things and just put them on there. But since that hasn't begun yet, this does kind of seem like an early, all right, can we maybe help build up an audience for our streaming service by sharing it on another streaming service? But it also kind of feels like, and in case it kind of goes away, we know there are fans for this show, let's find it another home now. So this could work out for them. This could get them more exposure, it could get them a larger audience, it could get them more people interested in this thing, so they're going to sign up for this thing, and it will get them more money coming in from HBO, so this could work out incredibly well, but it also does kind of look like, alright, let's just get Doom Patrol on the lifeboat, everyone, just in case, so they're going to be fine. So there's 2 ways that this can go, and I'm hoping, listen, despite the fact that I have no interest in signing up for it, thank you, car outside, despite the fact that I have no interest in signing up for it, I do hope it lives on. Because, listen, even if I am not into this thing, you people are. You people love this thing. I know, because you won't stop telling me about this thing. So, hey, if you like it, then great. Let it keep existing. But, man, it is a little bit worrisome. It is a little bit worrisome. As I said, this could work out. It could come in here. It could save the day. HBO could be the one that saves the DC streaming service. But it could also be the second home that the DC streaming service has to move into after their first home burns to the ground. Although, I will say, apparently that new Gremlins animated show is also going to be on that HBO streaming service. I actually might sign up for that HBO streaming service, because then I get to see this Doom Patrol thing that everybody's been raving about, and I can watch that new Gremlins animated show. So, damn, HBO, just merge them. I don't want to sign up for multiple HBO streaming services. However, speaking of that DC streaming service, there was a brand new trailer premiere for that Harley Quinn animated series that we've all been hearing about, and I'm very torn on this thing, in all honesty, because on the one hand, it does look like it's capturing the spirit and the personality and the tone of that Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor's Harley Quinn series that I know everybody loved. I didn't really love it. I didn't really like that series. So I'm looking at this, and part of me is like, oh yeah, that looks like exactly what that audience wants. I know I'm not in that audience. This looks like a lot of the stuff that I had problems with in there. But I'm also looking at this and going, you know what, this looks like such a unique, weird take on Harley Quinn. Not so much in what the stories are going to be, but more just in the limits that they're willing to go to with this animated series, that I have to applaud. I have to applaud that they're finding a home for a Harley Quinn series that is so different from anything else that anybody else out there would have made for a Harley Quinn series. That's awesome, and real talk, even if I have problems with the DC streaming service, even if I'm not going to sign up for it, I can look at and applaud that they're willing to take risks, that they're willing to do weird stuff, that they're willing to create shows that nobody else would have created for these characters, and that's exactly what that Harley Quinn series looks like. However, I also have a problem with what I'm seeing in here, which is that this thing starts off by coming in here and saying this is intended for mature audiences only. I was like, yeah, no duh, we all know that. We all know that that's what the DC streaming service is trying to be. And like 80% of the dialogue in this trailer is swear words. Or at least 80% of the dialogue in here contains swear words within those little clips that we see. And I kept looking at this and it felt so desperate to me. And that's been my problem with a lot of the darker, grittier tones that they're trying to take with a lot of stuff on the DC streaming service, is I look at it and I go, it's not that I'm opposed to you doing stuff like this. I'm not opposed to it at all. But the way that you always present it to me, the way that you always put it out there, it always feels like you're turning to us and going, yeah, look at what we just did. Oh man, oh this ain't your daddy's Harley Quinn. No, look at the stuff that we can do on this. And I always just look at that and go, motherfucker, we have had Deadpool for years in the movies. Me just hearing a superhero say shit is not a big deal anymore. I don't care about that at all. And that's why it always turns me off. It's not because I'm like, oh, I don't want to hear a character saying something like that. It's more like, I don't want you to act like that's a big deal because it makes you seem desperate. It makes you just seem like you're behind the times on this thing. Yeah, I have no interest in the way that they presented this thing. So I look at that and I think, okay, there could be a really awesome show in there, but they're just trying so hard to just come in here and just go, oh yeah, look at how extreme we are, look at how mature and edgy we are. And I'm like, that's not really mature and it's not really edgy. This is not the 90s anymore, dude. Yeah, that's kind of the problem that I had with that trailer. And it really took a lot of the positives that I probably would have had for that trailer, and it just made me turn around and just go, yeah, but none of it matters. It just kind of negated all of it. So yeah, I really felt nothing for this trailer, but I can look at it and go, there definitely is an audience for it. There definitely is an audience, so hey man, good for that audience. And as I said, even if I have no interest in this thing, the fact that DC is willing to try something so different, something that nobody else would do on their streaming service, I gotta applaud that. I gotta give them credit for that. Next up, I got two trailers to talk about real quick, because I didn't really have a lot of thoughts on either of them, but I know some people are interested in this. The Witcher trailer. Alright, it looks alright. I know nothing about The Witcher. I haven't read any of the books, I haven't played any of the games. But this looks good. It looks good because it looks like they spent money on this thing. Which again, brings me back around to something I've been saying about the Marvel Netflix shows for a while. It is so stunning to me to see what Netflix is willing to do with some of their other properties and what Disney would not let them do with the Netflix shows. Because, listen, this is Patreon. I can come in here and I can talk to you guys about this. I didn't want to share this like out there with the general public because I didn't know if I could possibly get someone in trouble, but you're here on Patreon. You guys aren't going to get anybody in trouble. I know someone that works at Netflix. And still to this day, I see people online going, yeah, Disney canceled those Netflix shows because they have their own streaming service coming up soon. And I always looked at that and went, that seems like a stupid idea because we know that they're not going to have like R-rated content on their streaming service, which is what those shows were. And also, why on earth would you cancel a thing that's making you money in one source so that you can't make it on your other source for the next 2 years because the contract says you can't even use these characters for another 2 years? That's bad business, and Disney is kind of known for being good at business. It doesn't make sense. I know someone who works at Netflix. I talked to them not long after those shows got canceled, and he said, yeah man, Disney was not giving Netflix the money. Netflix said, you had better start giving us more money for these shows, otherwise we're going to cancel it. Disney said, we're not giving you more money for this. So Netflix said, fine, we weren't bluffing, canceled. Yeah, it was Netflix that canceled it. But they canceled it because Disney was being really cheap on this. Disney is kind of famous for penny pinching when they can't get the money back directly themselves, and that's what was going on here. So you could say that Disney kind of canceled it because they didn't give Netflix what they wanted, but they weren't giving them what they wanted ever. Like from the beginning, Disney was making these shows super cheap. And I keep thinking about how, like, you got freaking Iron Fist, who can't even use his Iron Fist for like half the series because that glowing effect was too much. But then you also have no shots of Kunlun. All you get is one shot of him and Davos just standing against the most cheap-ass, like, high school play production of Iron Fist backdrop you've ever seen, and then two spooky flashlights in the darkness of, ooh, I'm a dragon. That's all you have from this. This freaking Witcher trailer has a giant bog spider just coming out there at the end. So yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about The Witcher, but I do have just another giant massive fuck you to Marvel coming in here just for saying, you guys did not want to spend money on this shit? Wow, I cannot believe how cheap your ass was on this. The next trailer is for Watchmen. It's weird. I'll say that. I don't know how to feel about this at all. But I will say, I'm glad they're doing something different. I'm glad they're trying to be weird with this, because Watchmen kind of should be weird. I really have no idea where this is going, but there are some things that I want to say about what we've seen about the Watchmen stuff on HBO. Not so much from this trailer, but from that first trailer, combined with this trailer. So all trailers. Basically what I want to say is that I think the Watchmen movie is okay. I think it's alright. But the reason why I didn't really love it the same way that I loved the book, even though it was copying scenes directly from the book, was I felt the tone was different in the movies. Because when you read the comics, you're supposed to think to yourself, these people are monsters. These people are awful. All of them are just terrible, destroyed individuals. Just crumbling shells of human beings putting on costumes, and oh my god, their emotional baggage and all their issues could fill an entire freaking airport. This is insane that these people are going out there and they're supposed to be the ones we're rooting for. They're as bad a monsters as anyone else out there. And then the movie, it was more, look at how badass these characters are. The movie felt way more like it was trying to make them out to be badasses, especially Rorschach. It felt like it was trying to make Rorschach cool. And Rorschach is not cool. Rorschach is a deranged madman who just happens to be hunting down an even more deranged madman. So that was my problem with the movie. And in this, you've got like a cult of complete nut jobs years later, all worshiping Rorschach. Like he's the greatest hero of them all. They love Rorschach and they look up to him and they think he is just this shining beacon of everything they should try and be. And I feel like even though this entire thing that they're building looks nuts, that's something that I have to look at and go, okay, I have a little bit of faith in this. Because it feels almost like what they're doing in here is they're critiquing the portrayal of these characters in the movie. It feels almost like this show is trying to come in here and go, worshiping these guys and thinking they're good heroes is not what you should do. That's insane. So that is the one thing about what I have seen from these Watchmen trailers that actually has me interested in it. Alright, there's two more quick, very small stories that I want to talk about, and they're in the complete opposite direction of Watchmen and all the other stuff that I just covered, because this has to do with some cartoons that got talked about. They're not the biggest stories, but one of them for me is the biggest story. I know that for a lot of people out there, you probably have no interest in this, but I kind of have to geek out about these things. First one that I'm going to talk about is that Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be an OKKO. I got nothing else to say about that other than the fact that I just think that that's kind of awesome. I haven't seen a lot of OKKO. I've checked out an episode here or there, but I know that a big thing about the show is that, oh, it's this kid who looks up to heroes, and they have actually had heroes from other Cartoon Network shows on there before. And now they're actually just going to get Sonic the Hedgehog, who he's not on a Cartoon Network show. He's a video game character. But him and Tails are going to be in this show. And we saw a clip of this. So granted, we don't know what he's going to be like in the rest of the episode. But I saw the clip and I went, that's Sonic the Hedgehog. That's totally like, man, you're nailing it. And I just want to come in here real quick and just say, it's so amusing to me that everyone out there can make good Sonic the Hedgehog content except the people who have to make official Sonic the Hedgehog content. The only person who makes official Sonic the Hedgehog content that's actually good is Tyson Hesse. But even he started off by making like fan-made Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. And he just kept making such good fan-made Sonic the Hedgehog stuff that eventually the actual Sonic people were like, he actually is kind of doing a better job than we are. Maybe we should give him a job. Like, you know, that Sonic Mania game? That was a fan project. That wasn't anything official. But it was so good, the official people had to go, alright, I guess you guys do kind of know what you're doing, so let's just make it an official thing. So we're just gonna make that a real deal. But like, the actual main Sonic games, the one made by the actual Sonic team, they're not really good. The Sonic movie, we all know how that looks. Yeah, it's so weird to me that everybody out there who just tries to make a fan project about Sonic, nailing it, they get it in one. But the actual Sonic people just keep screwing this up and stumbling over their own two giant red sneakers over and over and over again. I don't know, that's all I really wanted to say about this, just an observation I've had about Sonic for a while. And the last story from Comic-Con that I am going to talk about is that the people behind the DuckTales cartoon came in here and laid out their plans for Season 3, and it's basically just the Disney afternoon block from when I was a kid just coming back. And they've been introducing little bits and pieces of this throughout the entire series. They've had characters from the old comics from back in like the 40s and 50s. They've been bringing them out of obscurity and actually modernizing them in here. And when I say modernizing, I don't mean they put them in like a backwards baseball cap and hoodie and made them talk in hip lingo. No, just made them look like they did in the old cartoons, but feel like they exist within modern times. That totally works. Or they would update them to give them some depth, which is something they've done to a lot of characters in the DuckTales cartoon. Listen, I loved DuckTales when I was a kid, so I was intrigued to check this show out, but I've been watching this show. If you have not checked out the DuckTales cartoon, but you like stuff like, say, Gravity Falls, you have to check out DuckTales. This is kind of the spiritual successor to Gravity Falls. It's taking all this stuff about these kids going on this big world-traveling adventure with their rich Uncle Scrooge, but it's added in there the mystery, the depth, the character interactions that I loved about Gravity Falls. It's really carrying on the best of Gravity Falls and of the original DuckTales combined together. But they have introduced many old Disney characters who were tied into Donald Duck, tied into Uncle Scrooge, and they've been bringing them back and doing wonderful jobs with each of them. But they have also started introducing characters from the old Disney afternoon block. Like, they keep mentioning Cape Suzette, which is where Tailspin was set, and they kept having this running gag where Launchpad was a huge fan of Darkwing Duck, because in this universe, Darkwing Duck was basically like Adam West. It was this old TV show that he was a huge fan of, but they had this episode last season that was one of the best episodes of anything I've ever seen about people who love superheroes. Like, even if you are not interested in any of the stuff that I'm talking about, if you're not interested in DuckTales, you're not interested in Darkwing Duck, but you like superheroes, watch that episode, because it was all about how Hollywood had bought the rights to make a Darkwing Duck movie, and now the star who played Darkwing Duck, he was mad because he didn't get a callback for this, so he was going to sabotage the entire thing, and Launchpad had to now help his idol sabotage the movie of his favorite superhero. And he was kind of conflicted on all this because, like, well, that kind of sounds like a villainous thing, and kind of sounds like, yeah, maybe we should just, I don't know, move on and accept this stuff. But then he meets the guy who's going to be playing Darkwing Duck in this movie version, and he's as big a fan of Darkwing Duck as Launchpad is. And they start bonding over their love of Darkwing Duck. And it actually becomes like a really fun relationship between these characters. But the movie that they're making, it's the Christopher Nolan Batman stuff. Like, they even have, like, the villain in there is wearing the Bane coat, and the trailer they put out is the dark, edgy take on Darkwing Duck, and Launchpad's looking at that going, that's none of the stuff I actually like about Darkwing Duck, and that's not what this character is about. And yeah, it was just a great analysis of what it's like to love a character, but love them for specific reasons, but then having to accept that maybe it's time to move on from that stuff, but you can still hold on to the stuff that's important about it. It's a lot of different issues that get captured in there, but what they do so incredibly well in that episode is that at the end of the episode, the actor who played Darkwing Duck goes insane. He just decides, I'm gonna tear this entire thing down. I'm going to wreck this entire studio unless you guys can make the movie that I want. And Launchpad has to turn against his idol, but now he teams up with the other fanboy, with the guy who's going to play Darkwing Duck, and now they're going in there to try and save the day. And if you ever watched the old Darkwing Duck series, you know that Launchpad was his assistant. it was his pal in that old show. So it's now you found a way to get a Darkwing Duck and Launchpad team up going in here. So they charge in there, and at the end of this thing, they reveal the actor who was playing Darkwing Duck was the actual secret identity of Darkwing Duck in the old animated series. So you look at this and go, oh my god, you just set up a new Darkwing Duck animated series. You set up a Darkwing Duck revival in here, and you also know that Darkwing Duck's biggest enemy in that old show was Negaduck. It was an evil, twisted version of Darkwing Duck. And at the end of this thing, you see the classic actor who played Darkwing Duck crawling out of the wreckage, and he's now in the Negaduck colors. It's, okay, again, for the people out there who don't know anything about Darkwing Duck, this means nothing to you, but to me it was like, this is you solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded, is what you just did. This is like a magic trick, how well you were able to set everything up and take what you had established and then twist that to make it the perfect relaunching point for Darkwing Duck. But what they have now announced for season 3 of DuckTales is that Darkwing Duck, he's going to be back in there. And you're going to see him teaming up with Gizmo Duck, but if you watch the old Darkwing Duck series, you know they hated each other, and they already kind of set that up a little bit. But then you also see on that big poster, as I said, they keep mentioning Cape Suzette, you see Tailspin in there. You see the Tailspin plane, but it's not Baloo who's flying it. Instead, you see the 2 little kids from Tailspin, but now they're all grown up. Now they're the ones flying the plane. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a cool thing to do with that. But then you also see the Rescue Rangers plane in there, and then you also see like Goslin, the assistant to Darkwing Duck, like his sidekick, she's now in there as well. You also see Goofy from Goof Troop. He's in there wearing his Goof Troop sweater. They're just bringing everything back in here, like, freaking give me gargoyles in here at this point. You've gotten so many other things in here. I wouldn't be shocked if you found a way to get gargoyles involved in this as well. It's crazy to me how many things they're bringing back, and this is why I have to come in here and apply. You might be listening to all this and going, oh wow, your nostalgia is going overboard in this. It is! And you know why? Because they're doing nostalgia well. That's what DuckTales does. It does the nostalgia that you have for that old Disney animation block, and they do it incredibly well. It's not just them coming in here and just mentioning a thing. They come in here and they actually think of really smart ways to incorporate these characters, really smart ways to update these characters, really smart ways to tie all these characters together. That's exactly how you should do nostalgia. Nostalgia is not just, I mention a thing so therefore it's great. No, nostalgia is, I take this thing and I treat it with the respect that it deserves, but I also find cool ways to make it feel new and refreshing again. But okay, those are my thoughts on all the remaining stories from San Diego Comic-Con. I'm sure that I missed a couple in here, and I know there are some that people have mentioned to me, but I just don't really have any opinions on. Like, I think Steven Universe is a really good show, but I don't really have any feelings about that trailer for their new movie. It's cool he's getting a movie. That's all I have to say. So yeah, pretty much everything else that I saw from San Diego Comic-Con, I just didn't really have much else to say about it. But thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you guys for being patrons. Thank you guys for supporting this channel. I hope that you enjoyed these 2 videos that you got this week. And as I mentioned in the last video that you got, we're not going to do the commentary tracks anymore. Instead, we're going to start doing viewer request videos, where you guys can just say, I want you to talk in a video about this thing. What are your thoughts on this? Here's a question that I have for you. Just anything, like you can just say, here's a book I like, talk about this book. I will come in here and I will do that for a video for you guys. So we're going to make a post calling for you guys to submit the stuff that you want to see us talk about in just a couple of days, and when that goes up, then you guys submit to that, and then bam, we turn it into a video. But thank you guys very much for being patrons and for watching this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it. Bye everyone.